Okay, I guess since Galih couldn't attend this afternoon, I'll be the moderator for the presenter for the conference this evening. Yeah. Okay. Good evening, guys, and also all the audience. Welcome to the seminar on human versus machine. Are we there yet? Yeah. And today, in this afternoon, we'll have one presenter, Marchelline, Berliandika, Saksono, who will present her paper today. And I would like also to greet the judges, Josephine and also Vanessa. Okay, without further ado, I invite Marchelline to present her case. Okay, the screen is yours, Marchelline.
Is the screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. Good late afternoon, everyone. Firstly, thank you so much for attending this seminar. I'm going to present my research, that is a study on the performance of Google Translate and Bing Translator in 3 Catholic fundamental prayers. Firstly, a disclaimer. There are going to be some differences between the presentation and the journal that I have submitted, because during the time that I was continuing the research, there are some updates and some changes. But since the changes are not significant and does not affect the conclusion, therefore I didn't update my journal. Okay. Briefly, this study offers research in literary translation with the object of 3 Catholic prayers. Those are Sign of the Cross, the Lord's Prayer, also known as Our Father, and Hail Mary, as 3 of the most widely known prayers in Catholic Church. This research compares the performance of 2 MTs, those are Google Translate, owned by Google, and Bing Translator, owned by Microsoft, in translating the prayers. For the background, there are some expert statements about the machine translation for literary texts. Hutchinson Somers states that MT accuracy is prone to problems often found in literary texts, such as lexical ambiguity, syntax complexity, and structural grammatical constructions. And Benjamin also says that MT could produce conversions between English and several languages close to human translations when the ST is well structured with simple sentences, written in formal language, and relating to formal topics. But when those conditions do not apply in the ST, the accuracy of an MT decreases. Now, I include this as part of the background because almost all of these problems, all of these language obstacles are present in the objects. Now for experts' reviews and theories. Reviews on machine translation. Hutchinson Somers define machine translation as a computerized systems producing translation from SL to TL with or without human assistance. But the focus in MT evaluation is on the automated translation without human assistance. Therefore, the focus in this study is the raw output from the MT. Machine translation error analysis. Hutchinson Somers state that the most useful information in evaluating MT translation is obtained from error counting. But since the method of error counting can be subjective, there needs to be a classification of errors by types of linguistic phenomenon and by relative difficulty correction. The relative difficulty correction discussion is actually part in my actual thesis, but in this presentation, I do not include the discussion because for the sake of timing. Okay, machine translation error analysis. Koponen proposes her theory of machine translation error classification, which could also be an answer to the problem of subjectivity previously mentioned by Hutchinson Somers. Koponen states that the aim of her study is to draft an error classification emphasizing on semantic accuracy. Therefore, the concept of semantic is very crucial for this study. on what she refers as error is the semantic component not shared by source text and target text. And the semantic component is the individual concepts and the semantic relations between two concepts, that is head and the dependent. In which concepts are those represented by content words, which can be units larger than individual words, such as compound nouns, names, and idioms. And relations are expressed through function words, such as inflections and word order. Components classification is basically divided mainly into two main categories. Those are individual concept errors and relation between concept errors. For individual concept errors, we have 6 subcategories, and for relation between concept errors, we have 8 subcategories. This is the description and the example from component, but there are so many. It will take forever for me to explain, so I will just skip this. The theory of semantics. So as proposed by Fromkin and friends, semantics can be defined as the linguistic study of meaning of morphemes, words, phrases, and sentences. While for thematic roles, it expresses the kind of relation that exists between the arguments of the verb and the type of situation that the verb describes. Thematic roles is applied in this research in the discussion of error in the relation between concepts, because there are some errors in the relation between concepts that includes the changes in the semantics role. This is the semantic role. And the objects of the study are 3 Catholic prayers, Sign of the Cross, the Lord's Prayer, and Hail Mary, and the translation of the 3 prayers from Google Translate and Bing Translator. Here are the prayers. Is according to Vatican. And the objects of the study are chosen for the first reason is the uniqueness of their language, because the Lord's Prayer and Hail Mary mixed modern English and archaic English together. For example, the presence of words art, that is the archaic form of are, though, thee, die, and thine. Those are not commonly used in current English. And the second reason is for their similarities in their style compared to poetry. For example, in the Lord's Prayer, we have lines such as, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." And in Hail Mary, we have, "Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus," etc. Okay. For the method of the study applies library research that is applied in collecting definition, theories, related studies, and supporting arguments or statements. Maaf kalau agak nge-rap ya. For the qualitative method, it is used in examining error and in the elaboration of error. For the quantitative method, it is used in counting the amount of errors made by the entities. Types of data. It is an objective data, meaning that the data are taken from the source text and the target text. It is also a primary data collected straight from the translation of the 3 prayers from the 2 entities. And it is also qualitative and quantitative data. The data collected in this research is in the form of lines, and the unit of elaboration is in the level of line. It is summarized as below, as in the table. Sign of Cross, 4 lines. The Lord's Prayer, 14 lines. Hail Mary, 8 lines. Now for the individual concept error analysis. The first one is untranslated concept. In here, in the TT, we have dine, that is left untranslated in the target text, also as dine. Dine is the possessive pronoun of the noun yours. And the same as yours, this concept should be translated into milikmu. In Indonesian grammar, adalah is mostly preceded by a pronoun or a noun. It's actually the same in English. Is, mr are preceded by pronoun or a noun. But since in Indonesia we don't have the pronoun dine, and supposedly we don't recognize dine, therefore Target text could be mistakenly taken as thine as a noun, is, a, or the kingdom. Analysis 2. Source text, Our Father who art in heaven, translated into Bapa kita yang bermusik di surga. Art is the old form of are, or the second person singular of the present tense of be. Art is translated as bermusik, or in English means playing music. There are two possibilities that can probably cause this error. The first one is that BT has the verb art translated literally as bermusik in its dictionary. And if this is the case, then the error is originated from the lexical error in BT's dictionary. But if the second possibility, that is BT recognizes art as a noun and correlates it with an artistic activity that somehow generates the concept of playing music. If the origin of the error is the second possibility, then the relative difficulty would be much more complicated. And the third analysis, our is translated into kita. As we know, the pronoun our has two direct meanings in Indonesian, that is kami and kita. Kami is when the person to whom the speaker is talking to is not included, while kita is when the speaker includes the person that they are talking with. In this case, translation of our as kita is actually correct in literal way when the context of the text is neglected. But since the context of the text as a prayer is that the speaker is talking to a supreme being, in here Mother Mary, then the translation becomes incorrect. Our should refer to the people who are praying, not including Mother Mary, means that kami should have been used. To say the hour of our death as saat kematian kita implies the hour of Mother Mary's death too, which clearly not what the ST conveys. Okay, it's also mistranslated concept. Here in the source text, we have blessed, translated into berbahakarlah, and temptation, translated into pencocokan. The word berbahakarlah does not present at all in KBBI, and therefore does not have any meaning. It's just a random word. And pencocokan, it does present in KBBI, but the word itself is completely out of context for the line. KBBI defined pencocokan as proses, cara, perbuatan mencocokkan, or proses, method, act of matching things. These kinds of unknown and unrelated words only appear in BT's products. So GT does not produce any kind of this random and unrelated words. Okay. Analysis 5, substituted concept. So here we can see that bread is translated into makanan. They are not directly equivalent, so it is counted as substituted concept. Food is a superordinate of bread, but can be considered as a valid replacement, since the first reason is that by the time Jesus taught his disciples about the prayer, bread was a term synonymous to food. And the second one is that bread or roti is not the main consumption for Indonesian. Therefore, translating bread literally into roti in this context would be awkward. Actually, all of the error in substituted, all of the substitution error, whether it is substituted concept, substituted relation, or substituted participant, are acceptable and actually probably natural. But since in empty evaluation, we expect a machine to be filial to translate what is in the source text. Therefore, something that is not directly equivalent is counted as error. Even though it is acceptable, if it is acceptable, then it is counted as substituted other concept, relation, and participant. Okay, now for the relation between concepts error analysis. The first one, we have added relation. Hallowed be thy name is translated into dikuduskan menjadi nama Anda. So hallowed be is actually one phrase, so it's a single concept to translate. But here, the relation menjadi is added. PT translates the verb phrase hallowed be as two concepts, hallowed plus be, subsequently adding the relation menjadi or becomes. Collins Dictionary explains subjunctive form be as formerly used in English for situations that were improbable or that expressed a wish. So it's kind of an archaic form of stating a wish. This added relation of menjadi changes the thematic roles. In the ST, hallowed be is the predicate or action, and thy name is the experiencer. While in the TT, it includes the preceding line, that is our Father who art in heaven, as the experiencer. And this line, dikuduskanlah menjadi nama Anda, as the action or the predicate. Analysis 7, mistaken relation. They will be done, translated into Anda akan dilakukan. So in the source text, we have two phrases, they will, noun phrase, and be done, verb phrase. But in the target text, we have Anda changed into object and akan dilakukan as verb phrase. Thy is the archaic form of possessive determiner your. Therefore, will is automatically a noun. This mistaken relation changes the thematic roles. Thy will is originally them. Be done is the predicate or the action, while in the TT, Anda is the them, akan dilakukan is the action or predicate. Okay, substituted participant. Pray for us sinners is translated into kami yang berdosa, berdoa untuk kami yang berdosa. So I repeat that substitution is actually acceptable and valid translation, but not a direct equivalence. Sinner is a noun which should ideally be translated directly into orang berdosa, but the empties translated the noun into adjective phrase yang berdosa. So instead of directly translating us sinners into kami orang-orang berdosa, GT and BT transform the phrase into kami yang berdosa or us who sin. The conjunction yang, or in English who, which, that, connected the pronoun us to the adjective. Connected the pronoun us, kami, and the adjective yang berdosa, kami yang berdosa. This substitution does not result in any significant change in the ST's meaning, and therefore it is a valid substitution. Okay, now in the findings, for the quantitative findings, we have 27 errors found in total. That is different from what is written in the journal. And no errors found in the category of explicitated concept, omitted participant, omitted relation, and mistaken participant. BT produced more errors, both in individual concept and in relation between concepts. For the qualitative finding, PT tends to produce errors in its translation, which are relatively difficult to correct, especially in its relation between concepts error. And some of PT's errors are completely not understandable, while GT produces no destructive error or error which could result in severe misinterpretation. The third finding is that GT produced more error than BT in substituted concept error, which is a special case of error, as I mentioned. And the last finding is vocabulary-wise, BT's weakness appears with the production of meaningless and completely unrelated words. Seperti yang tadi, berbahakarlah and pencocokan. And also with the untranslated concept error from the word dine. The conclusion, out of the 14 subcategories by component, there are 9 subcategories in which errors are produced. And second is quantitatively, GT's performance is steadily superior than BT, but the differences of their total errors are not significant. And qualitatively, GT is proven to be superior than BT. BT tends to make errors in its translations, which are relatively more difficult to correct than that of GT. And some of BT's errors are destructive and resulting in severe misinterpretation. In comparison, GT does not make any destructive error in its translation. GT's superiority can also be seen by their resource of vocabulary. And then no visible pattern or tendencies for certain line characteristics in which certain empties make certain mistakes. But in general, both machines clearly struggle when faced with problems often found in literary texts, such as lexical ambiguity, syntax complexity, structural grammatical constructions, unfamiliar words, and literary languages. But for the lines that are well structured, the two empties are able to produce decent translation. And conclusively, for a literary translation case, the two empties are not yet reliable. Human involvement is still needed in every degree. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you, Marchelline. That's great presentation. Yeah, it's very complete, and it seems to me that you are ready for business defense that you will face soon enough. Okay. For the first session, I would like to invite the judges, Vanessa and Josephine. Who will be the first, Vanessa or Josephine? To roast Marchelline. Yeah, please roast her.
Okay. Okay. Good evening, Marchelline. Wow, that's a really nice and impressive performance for you. And honestly, your journal is already very good because you are in a reader's tab, okay? And I'm just giving a little advice because the first one, in my opinion, because your topic about Catholic prayer, right? And not everyone are familiar with the Our Father prayer in Catholic, or maybe some people are already know about the cross sign, right? In the name of the Father, but maybe Our Father and the others, Hail Mary, right? Maybe it would be better to include the prayer completely, maybe in journal, but honestly, I'm glad you show it during this seminar. And I see, oh, that's right. Okay, that's what I need. Okay, because I'm a Catholic, but when I see the prayer in the analysis, and in your analysis, you can add the title of the prayer because I should memorize ini doa apa ya, oh, what is it here, something like that. Okay. Okay. That's a little advice from me. And the question is, as we already know, based on your journal, I can conclude that Google Translate and Bing Translator have some errors, right, in translation. So, in your opinion, does it mean that humans are still the best translators? Okay, and you want to answer it, or I would like in the second question. Okay.
I will answer it. It's a quick answer. Actually, it depends on the case. Probably machine translation can be very handy, very helpful, but not for literally translation. Probably human is way better in translating literally texts for now.
Okay, for now, okay. But in introduction, as you written, human with their intelligence created machines to facilitate an instant transfer between language, right? As you can saw, the machine just to help humans, or what?
Actually, because translation is a long time done activity from time to time. So because the high traffic for translation, human create machine translation. And is it only to help human? I think yes.
Okay. So did you find, and the second question, did you find any errors in the translation of cross sign by Google Translate and Bing Translator?
Okay. Yes, I
Yeah.
did find some errors, but because I picked the errors that are worth to discuss, therefore I choose the errors that I have presented.
Okay, because I can see that in Indonesia dalam nama Bapa, Putra, dan Roh Kudus, and English in the name of the Father, of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. So I think, oh ini it is exactly right between the English and Indonesian. So I don't see that there is any error. So can you mention maybe the errors maybe because I need that information.
Okay, so untungnya I remember the error that is and in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. So BT and GT both translated into in the dalam nama dari Bapa dan dari Putra dan dari Roh Kudus. So in the name of here is actually don't have any meanings when translated in Indonesia. In the name of the Father dalam nama Bapa. So it does not need any relation. If you say dari, then there is a source. So that is.
Okay, thank you so much, Marchelline.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Okay, thank you, Vanessa. And next judge is Josephine. Okay, Josephine, screen is yours.
Yes. Sorry. First, I cannot turn on my camera because there's bad signal here. So I'm afraid that if I turn on the camera, it will be like. First, I want to say that your paper is already good in my opinion. Yeah, you already in reader's draft, and your presentation also good, but I think that you should separate few parts into 2 parts because it is too many point in the PPT.
Oh, okay.
So for example, for the data, you may just put the column in one PPT and the explanation in another one next to the column of the table, I think. So I saw that in your PPT you said that the reason that you chose that this object Catholic prayers because of the unique language and it is similar to poetic. Am I correct?
Yes, you're correct.
Yeah. I want to know, is there any specific reason rather than the reason that you already mentioned before? Because I think you can also choose another object, for example, like books or like poetry. Why is your specific reason to choose Catholic prayers as your object?
Okay. Any other question?
Actually, it is not a question. Being translator is a machine translator too, right? So in your paper, I saw that fields of MT and BT. MT is formation translator, right?
Right.
And being translator is also a machine translator. So I think you should not separate it from the machine translator because Google Translate and Bing Translator are both machine translator in my opinion. So the question that I already mentioned before.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Joe.
Yes.
So is there any other reason? Okay, for the not personal reason, I will say that if the objects is books or poetry, there are so many other researches on that already, but probably there's also already some research on prayers too, but Unluckily, I didn't find that. And because Catholic prayers, that is the sign of cross, Lord's prayers, and Hail Mary are very popular, are three very famous objects. And my personal reason is that I am a Catholic, and therefore I want to see if machine translation also works on those prayers. Is that enough?
Yes, that's already answered my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
The second question.
Actually, I already asked her before about the machine translation, sir.
What? Machine translation? I'm sorry. I
Uh,
did.
that before of being translator and the Google Translate, I asked you
Oh,
Both are machine translation, right?
yeah, because in the paper she differentiate MT and BT, machine translator and being translator, while the being translator is also a machine translator. That's why I asked, am my opinion right?
I'm sorry, I didn't get it previously. Okay, when I say MT, I refer to machine translation in general because there are so many machine translations. So I stated generally. But when I say specifically BT or GT, or sometimes I substituted machine translation with BT and GT, probably that a little bit confusing. I'm sorry, but yeah. So BT is Bing Translator, and GT is Google Translate, and MT is machine translation in general.
Oh, I see. Thank you, Marchelline.
Okay, well, actually, why did you differentiate between Google Translate and machine? Well, actually, both are machine translation, right, Marceline?
Maksudnya penyebutannya, sir?
Yes.
Oh, when I say
PT and BT, both are machine translation, right? As shown by Josephine, that it seems like you differentiate between MT and BT.
when I say MT, I mean generally machine translation because there are so many machine translations. But when I say specifically BT or GT, I say specifically that machine translation.
Okay,
huh?
but BT is also machine translation, right?
Yes.
Why did you differentiate between MT and BT?
Because BT is one of machine translation, one kind of machine
Okay.
translation. It's the name.
Yeah. So why did you differentiate MT and BT? While actually BT is also an MT, one of the MTs.
Because probably MT is like the how do you call it? I just mentioned it. Wait. MT is the superordinate of machine translation, I say generally, while GT and BT are two of machine translation. There are so many other out there, I think.
Okay.
So I think BT and GT is the name of the product.
Yeah. Both are machine translation, right?
Both are machine translation.
Okay. Questions now? Vanessa and Josephine, have you finished roasting Marceline?
Yes.
You satisfied roasting her?
Aduh, malah minder saya, sir. Kalau ngerostingnya, sir. Sudah, sir. Cukup, sir.
Okay. Now from the audience, Maria Trifosa, Cinda, Galih, and Ulfa. It's your opportunity to roast Marceline. Okay, if there are no questions from the audience, I would like to ask something a little bit. Yeah, the core differences between concepts in relation concept of error and relation error.
Oh,
What is it?
individual concept sama relation.
Yes.
Okay. So as mentioned in the PPT, actually, concept is one concept that could be represented by word, phrases, or clause. It's a concept, but in the relation, it's often represented by function words. So concepts is content words, and relation is function. So
Okay.
content words like table, chair.
Yeah, content, right? Not just word, but content words and function words. Yeah. Yeah. Because previously you said it might be word or phrase or no. Yeah. It should be content word and function word.
But in the form of words, phrase, and
Yeah, but you must add with content because sometimes function word also in the form of word, right?
oh yeah.
Right. Content word and function. Okay, and then another question is, what is the difference between machine translation and translation machine?
Translation machine. I don't think there is any kind of that terms. I think machine translation is both the translation and the machine. Does that make sense?
Okay, machine translation. Let's see it from the structural point of view. In translation, what is the head? Those are noun phrase, right? Machine translation
Yep.
and those are noun phrase. What is the head of machine translation?
Machine translation, the head is translation.
The head of translation machine?
Translation machine, the head is machine.
Okay. So when you translate into Bahasa Indonesia, in Bahasa Indonesia, the head will be put in the initial position, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how will you translate machine translation?
Machine translation, penerjemahan mesin.
Translation machine?
Mesin penerjemah.
Nah, okay. So Google Translate and Bing Translator are machine translation or translation machine?
If we talk about with that syntax, with that word order, then it is a translation machine. But in the general term, it's also called machine translation.
So because these questions will be asked over and over again in the thesis defense, yeah, especially for if the examiners are not familiar with the terms existing in translation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why not translation machine? Why machine translation? What is your answer?
Because
Why Google Translate, Bing Translator are called machine translation, not translation machine?
probably the term refers to the products actually, but since generally those machines are called machine translation and is a long used term, therefore I still use machine translation to refer to those machines.
Yeah, okay. Because in translation terms, those products still called, actually the complete terms are machine translation softwares, but sometimes the softwares are omitted, therefore it's just machine translations, and it is now considered as both translation machine and machine translation. But we will not find the terms of translation machine in this context. Yeah, you will not find translation machine, but all of them use machine translations as the product of the machine itself, and also when refer to the software itself. Both are called machine translation. Yeah, that will be asked over and over again in every thesis defense. Okay, and then okay, what you are the objects of your study here is songs, right?
Prayer.
Prayers. Oh, sorry, prayers, yeah, not songs, yeah. This is the object here is the something that is sung or just the enchant is spoken, sung or spoken.
I don't know the English version of Hail Mary, Lord's Prayer song, but I think whether it is the song lyric or it is the prayer, the lyrics is the same. But here I use it in the form of text, prayer text.
Okay, texts which are uttered, right? Which are spoken. Okay. And then it is interesting to see your emphasis on the use of dari, right? Bapak dari kami. And then your finding is dari indicates
Source.
source. Are you sure?
Yes.
Where do you get that? From what source?
Okay. Because when you say the name of the father, translated into nama dari Bapak, dari I search in KBBI, it is not the standard in Indonesia, bukan baku. Possession-nya nggak baku. It's a possessive form, but it is nggak baku. And therefore, whatever it is that is tidak baku, then it is wrong actually in bahasa Indonesia. Therefore, if it is wrong, then it the second meaning is that it is from. Nama dari Bapak berarti the name from or given from the father.
Okay. Have you ever tried to see the difference between of and from? For example, like this paper is made of wood or from wood. The chair is made of wood or the chair is made from wood.
It's made of wood, it's made from wood. Actually, those concepts sometimes are substitutable. But in this line, in the context of name of the father, it shows possession, not like of wood. It's made of wood. It's made from wood. I don't know. I think those lines are different.
Okay. Questions like this sometimes come up during the thesis defense, right? Something that you do not expect. Yeah. For example, like what I asked you, what is the difference between the chair made of and made from? So try to find the answer from the reference, right? Try to also try to find the answers from the things that related to dari source. You said that dari means source, right? But dari can also means not only source but also distance, right? Dari kampus ke rumah.
Yes. But
Right.
Dari kampus ke rumah, darinya tetap sources.
Oke, misalnya gini. Dari jam 7 sampai 9. Dari source.
Dari jam 7. It's kind of a source, but probably it isn't if it is in the context of time. Nanti aku cari lagi.
Okay. So try to learn more about preposition dari in bahasa Indonesia. And then the other one, in your presentation you mentioned, not presentation, yeah, perhaps you answer Vanessa or Josephine, you mentioned that if they are not in KBBI, then they don't exist. What do you mean by that?
It is not that it is not exist, but it is actually grammatically wrong. Therefore,
what do you mean not in KBBI grammatically wrong?
Because in KBBI says that dari is not the standard form. Therefore, when it is tidak baku, then it is wrong.
Tidak baku and wrong is different, though.
Oh, and then
tidak baku is used, but not as a standard. But that doesn't indicate it is wrong. It is not used as a standard bahasa Indonesia, but in reality they are still used. They are not wrong, but not standard. Perhaps used in informal context or in everyday use, but they are considered not as standard. They are not wrong, but not standard.
Okay. I will study about it lagi, sir.
Yeah, please learn about the Indonesian grammars, especially on this function words, yeah, because you with your thesis you talk a lot about function words in English. Dari, of, from. Because I forgot to note, yeah, previously you said that they cannot be found in KBBI, and therefore I did not analyze that or something. I forget. How did you say? Do you remember?
I don't remember my exact words, sir.
Ya, pokoknya gitu. Tadi saya agak tertrigger itu, tapi saya lupa mencatat. Nanti saya lihat YouTube-nya lagi.
Oh iya, sir.
Saya tanyakan. Oke, karena itu bahaya itu, karena tidak ada di KBBI itu belum, not necessarily don't exist, ya, they exist, but they are still not codified in KBBI.
But if the line becomes ambiguous, is it counted as error, sir?
Ambiguous. For example?
Nama dari Bapak, kan berarti kan artinya kalau misalnya darinya itu bisa dipakai, I mean even though it is not a standard, if dari is usable, then the line becomes ambiguous.
Yeah, it's usable. Yeah. It's used by some people in Indonesia. Perhaps your father or your mother who live in New Order era, you may ask them, yeah, when Pak Soeharto, the former president of Indonesia, said daripada. Daripada indicates of something like anak daripada bapak, ibu daripada, ini rumah daripada saya, maksudnya ini rumah saya. So he always inserted the function word daripada, preposition daripada, to indicate possession. That is used by people, but they are not standard.
I will find a way to analyze it.
Ya.
Kemarin butuh beberapa correction.
Anak daripada bapak,
anak bapak.
One of the part. Ya. Bagaimana doa salib itu saya lupa.
The name of the father and
the name of the father. Name of the father.
Dari bapak dan dari putra.
Ya. Atas nama daripada bapak, daripada putra, daripada bisa begitu. Pak Harto prayed that part, but his husband, jadi tidak mungkin. Ini motor daripada saya, ini motor saya. Ini motor daripada saya.
Tapi kalau ini motor dari saya kan dari source ya, sir? Dari saya. Kalau dari, bukan dari badan.
Ya, that can also be interpreted as nama dari in the name of the father, nama dari bapak. Nama given by the father. It can be interpreted that way, right? Nah, itu yang harus coba nanti tapi kalau menurut konsep errornya komponen, dia masuk kesalahan itu toh.
Harusnya masuk kesalahan, sir. Soalnya di grammar bahasa Indonesia kalau posesif kan nggak pakai relation, nama saya, nama Anda, standardly. Tapi karena di situ dikasih relation, jadi harusnya itu salah. Tapi karena itu masuk bentuk tidak baku, jadi bisa aja nggak salah gitu loh, sir.
Nggak bagus. Nggak bagus. Tapi mungkin komponen menyebutnya error begitu.
Iya.
Ya, jadi kamu harus memastikan perbedaan antara tidak baku dan mungkin jadi nanti misalnya di pertanyaan seperti itu muncul di business defense, ya bilang aja, oh ini this is not standard, but perhaps it is used by some Indonesian people, and component consider that as categorize that as a error. Gitu. Karena zaman sekarang itu error dan tidak error itu jadi relatif. Jangan apa-apa kan nggak error itu cuma gini. Karena nggak ada salah benar itu kan jadi gray area semua.
Subjektif. Ya.
Mispronunciation itu nggak ada sekarang, mispronunciation. Memang dia prosesnya seperti itu. Makanya standard English bukan karena saya tidak bisa mempronounce seperti British lalu pronunciasinya salah, enggak, itu tetap benar, tapi but I can speak standard English. Jadi kalau judulnya mispronunciation ini, nah itu bisa dipertanyakan. Jadi dianggap sebagai English variety, bahkan standard English pun sekarang dianggap sebagai variety. Ya, itu zaman sekarang itu memang seperti itu. The line separating between right or wrong is blurred. Mudah-mudahan tidak keluar sih di ujian.
Mudah-mudahan. Aku takut tuh, Sir.
Oke, tenang aja. Nanti 14 hari kamu nanya Pak Akhir ya, kalau belum keluar. Oke, any last questions from the audience? Okay, no. Okay, because there are no more questions, I would like to close the sessions of the today's seminar with Marchelline, Berliandika, Saksono as the speaker, and also Vanessa Julia Sura and Josephine Kumala as the judges. Thank you, Marchelline, and also Vanessa and Josephine.